The atmosphere within the hallowed halls of Forrester Creations has been nothing short of apocalyptic ever since the shocking and unprecedented defection of Hope Logan Spencer. The sudden departure of the beloved face of the company to the rival fashion house, Logan Creations, has left a gaping void in the corporate structure and a lingering sense of betrayal among the staff. The design rooms dedicated to the iconic hope for the future brand, once buzzing with vibrant energy, frantic sketching, and the constant hum of sewing machines, now sit in a state of deafening silence. The brand that was once the crown jewel of the company's youth outreach and philanthropic efforts is currently completely stalled, bleeding momentum and market relevance with every passing day that it remains inactive. The executives are scrambling to formulate a strategy, but the sheer shock of Hope's betrayal has left them paralyzed, struggling to figure out how to salvage a brand that is so intrinsically tied to the woman who just abandoned it. At the center of this swirling vortex of corporate chaos is Ridge Forrester, a man who is currently fighting a grueling war on multiple, devastating fronts. Ridge is not only dealing with the catastrophic public relations nightmare of Hope's defection, but he is also engaged in a bitter, personal blood feud with Bill Spencer and the newly empowered Katie Logan. To make matters worse, the highly anticipated return of Eric Forrester to the realm of haute couture was completely overshadowed by Logan's surprise fashion show, leaving Ridge desperate to find a decisive victory to reassert Forrester Creations' dominance in the industry. The weight of the family legacy rests squarely on Ridge's broad shoulders, and the immense pressure is visibly taking its toll. He is exhausted, emotionally drained from the constant betrayals, and hyper-aware that his next executive decision regarding the stalled Hope for the Future line could either save the company's youth demographic or plunge them further into financial and reputational ruin. Enter R.J. Forrester, a young man who has recently been consumed by his intense, volatile romantic rivalry with Will Spencer over the affections of Electra Forrester. While R.J. has successfully navigated the treacherous waters of his personal life, securing his place by Electra's side following Will's violent downfall, he is now sharply pivoting his focus toward his professional legacy. RJ is highly observant, and he recognizes that the current crisis surrounding Hope for the Future presents a rare, golden opportunity. He sees the massive vacuum left by Hope's departure not as a tragedy, but as a potential launching pad for his own ambitions. For too long, RJ has operated on the periphery of the family business, contributing as an influencer and a supporting player, but never holding the reins of a major division. Now, witnessing the brand he grew up around teetering on the edge of extinction, RJ has decided that it is time to step out of the shadows and claim his birthright. The build-up to the inevitable confrontation between father and son is fraught with heavy, palpable tension. RJ paces outside the frosted glass doors of the CEO's office, mentally rehearsing his pitch, acutely aware that this is his ultimate make-or-break moment. He knows that he is stepping into a minefield. He is preparing to ask for control of a multi-million-dollar global brand, a request that requires an immense amount of audacity and self-assurance. RJ is determined to prove that he is not just the privileged son of Ridge and Brooke, but a visionary creative force capable of leading Forrester Creations into a new, modern era. He takes a deep breath, steeling himself against the anticipated resistance, and pushes open the heavy doors, stepping into the lion's den to confront a father who is already pushed to his absolute limits by the ongoing corporate warfare. As RJ bursts into the executive office, the visual contrast between the two men is striking. Ridge is seated behind his massive desk, surrounded by scattered sketches, financial reports, and the lingering remnants of endless crisis management meetings. He looks weary, rubbing his temples in a desperate attempt to stave off an impending headache. RJ, on the other hand, is practically vibrating with youthful, restless energy. He does not hesitate or beat around the bush. He immediately brings up the massive elephant in the room. RJ points directly to the stalled, effectively dead hope for the future line, demanding that they address the crisis head-on rather than letting the brand slowly wither away in the aftermath of Hope's shocking betrayal. He makes it clear that he is not there for a casual chat, but to make a formal, aggressive bid for power within the family empire. RJ's passionate pitch begins with a fierce declaration of loyalty to the Forrester legacy. He argues vehemently that Forrester Creations cannot simply roll over and allow Logan Creations to steal their hard work, their momentum, and their target demographic. He reminds Ridge that hope for the future was built on the resources, the funding, and the platform provided by the Forrester family. To let the brand die simply because Hope walked out the door would be a massive surrender to the Spencers and the Logans. RJ passionately pleads with his father to give him the opportunity to lead the line, to revamp it, and to save the family's investment. He envisions a total rebranding, stripping away the lingering associations with Hope and injecting the line with a fresh, edgy, and fiercely modern aesthetic that can go head-to-head with whatever Deke Sharp is designing over at Logan Creations. Leaning into his unique, undeniable advantage, RJ argues that he understands the younger generation better than anyone else in the building. He points out that the executives currently making the decisions, namely Ridge, Steffy, and Eric, are brilliant. But they are fundamentally disconnected from the rapid, ever-changing pulse of Gen Z and younger millennials. RJ lives and breathes internet culture, viral trends, and the digital landscape that dictates modern fashion consumption. He insists that he knows exactly how to capture this elusive demographic's attention, how to market to them authentically, and how to design pieces that resonate with their values and aesthetics. RJ argues that hope for the future needs a leader who doesn't just study the youth market, but actually embodies it, presenting himself as the ultimate, undeniable solution to the brand's existential crisis. Ridge's initial reaction to his son's bold proposal is a complex, turbulent mixture of paternal pride and severe executive hesitation. On one hand, Ridge is deeply moved by RJ's fierce passion, his loyalty to the family legacy, and his undeniable creative spark. He sees echoes of his own youthful ambition in RJ's fiery determination. However, the pragmatic, ruthless co-CEO side of Ridge immediately kicks in, throwing up massive red flags. Ridge is forced to confront the harsh, unforgiving realities of the global fashion industry. Hope for the Future is not a small capsule collection or a vanity project. It is a massive, flagship brand with international distribution, complex supply chains, and millions of dollars on the line. Ridge knows that passion alone is not enough to keep a corporate behemoth afloat in such a cutthroat market. Ridge quickly points out RJ's glaring lack of practical, managerial experience in running an entire fashion division. While Ridge acknowledges that RJ has immense talent, a great eye for design, and a masterful understanding of social media marketing, leading a brand requires a completely different skill set. It requires managing budgets, overseeing production timelines, handling temperamental suppliers, and navigating the vicious politics of the retail world. Ridge argues that RJ simply has not put in the years of grueling, behind-the-scenes work required to develop these crucial logistical and financial competencies. Handing the keys of a multi-million-dollar empire to a relative novice, especially during a time of intense corporate vulnerability, is a gamble that Ridge is deeply terrified to take. Furthermore, Ridge brings up the massive, looming, and highly volatile threat of Zende Forrester domings. This is the ultimate sticking point that threatens to derail RJ's ambitions entirely. Ridge reminds RJ that Zende was just officially promoted to the position of lead designer for Hope for the Future right before Hope dropped her bombshell defection. Zende has put in the years, the sweat, and the tears to earn that position. Stripping Zende of this hard-earned title to hand the entire division over to RJ, the boss's son, would not just be a slight, it would ignite a devastating internal civil war within the Forrester family. Ridge knows that he cannot afford to alienate another highly talented designer, especially when they are already bleeding personnel to Logan Creations. Delving deeper into the psychological state of the Forrester design team, Ridge knows that Zende is already standing on a razor's edge. Zende is currently feeling incredibly bitter, resentful, and overlooked, suffering a devastating psychological crash after his promotion was rendered seemingly meaningless by the stalling of the line. If Ridge bypasses Zen's extensive experience and undeniable talent in favor of RJ, it would confirm every single dark, festering insecurity Zende has about nepotism and favoritism at Forrester Creations. It would be the ultimate slap in the face, potentially driving Zende straight into the waiting arms of Katie Logan, who would eagerly snatch up another disillusioned Forrester designer. Ridge is desperately trying to keep his remaining team intact, and promoting RJ over Zende is a surefire way to shatter that fragile unity. RJ, however, refuses to back down against the Zende argument, demonstrating a ruthless streak that surprises even Ridge. RJ argues that while Zen's designs are technically proficient and beautifully crafted, they lack the viral, disruptive, and youthful edge that is absolutely necessary to compete with the explosive momentum of Hope's new Logan line. RJ insists that Zen's aesthetic is too traditional, too safe, and too aligned with the old guard of Forrester Creations. In a corporate war for survival, RJ argues that the company's survival must trump Zen's fragile ego. He boldly claims that if they want to truly save the brand and capture the youth market, they need a radical departure from the norm, a disruption that only he is capable of providing. As the corporate arguments reach an impasse, the conversation takes a sudden, highly emotional, and deeply personal turn. RJ drops his confident, executive facade and speaks directly from the heart of a son who has long felt marginalized. He delivers a crushing emotional blow to Ridge, exposing deep-seated insecurities that have been quietly festering for years. RJ strips away the talk of demographics, profit margins, and marketing strategies, reducing the conflict to its raw, emotional core, a desperate plea for validation, trust, and a recognized place within his own family's legacy. He looks his father in the eye, his voice trembling with a potent mix of anger and vulnerability, preparing to lay all of his cards on the table. If you can't trust me with this, I feel completely invisible in my own family, RJ declares, the words hanging heavily in the tense air of the executive office. He articulates a painful truth that Ridge has long tried to ignore. RJ explains how Steffy and Thomas have always been the golden children of Forrester Creations, the ones entrusted with the major lines, the executive titles, and the future of the company. Even Hope, a Logan, was given her own brand and treated with more creative reverence than him. RJ expresses that he has always felt relegated to the sidelines, treated as the younger, less serious sibling whose contributions are appreciated but never truly respected. He tells Ridge that denying him this opportunity is tantamount to telling him that he will never be viewed as an equal, that he will forever remain a supporting character in the grand Forrester narrative. Ridge is completely paralyzed by the profound emotional weight of RJ's heartbreaking declaration. The conflict suddenly tears him apart, ripping him into completely opposite directions. On one side is the pragmatic, ruthless co-CEO who knows that business decisions cannot be made based on hurt feelings, who needs stability, experience, and a guaranteed return on investment during a time of unprecedented crisis. On the other side is the loving, protective father who is suddenly struck by the horrifying realization that he has inadvertently marginalized his youngest son, causing deep emotional wounds in his pursuit of corporate dominance. Ridge stares at RJ, seeing not just an ambitious employee, but a young man desperately crying out for his father's belief and validation. The broader implications for Forrester Creations hang precariously in the balance, resting entirely on Ridge's impending decision. If Ridge says yes to RJ, he risks alienating Zende permanently, potentially causing another high-profile defection. And he risks crashing a flagship brand if RJ's lack of managerial experience proves to be his downfall. However, if Ridge says no, the consequences could be even more devastating on a personal level. He risks alienating RJ permanently, crushing his son's spirit, and potentially driving him away from the family business entirely, just as they lost hope. The choice is an agonizing zero-sum game, where any decision will inevitably cause massive collateral damage to the intricate web of Forrester family dynamics. Furthermore, the intersection of RJ's professional ambition and his escalating romance with Elektra Forrester adds another volatile layer of complexity to the situation. RJ has recently pitched the idea of Elektra leading a new youth demographic line. If RJ successfully takes over the remnants of hope for the future, he and Elektra could combine their talents, creating a formidable, unified front. They could become the ultimate, unstoppable power couple of Forrester creations, directly rivaling the partnership of Hope and Deke at Logan Creations. The synergy between RJ's modern design vision and Elektra's jewelry expertise could be exactly the explosive combination the company needs to reclaim its dominance, but only if Ridge is willing to take the ultimate leap of faith. The delicate, fragile balance of power at Forrester Creations now hangs by a single, fraying thread as RJ awaits his father's verdict. The air in the office is thick with unspoken ultimatums, unresolved childhood resentments, and the terrifying prospect of the future. Will Ridge choose to prioritize family loyalty, youthful innovation, and the emotional well-being of his son, taking a massive gamble on RJ's unproven leadership? Or will he side with experience, stability, and the fragile ego of Zende Forrester Dominguez, prioritizing the cold, hard logic of the corporate world? Whatever Ridge decides, the shockwaves of this confrontation will undoubtedly alter the trajectory of the Forrester empire forever. The corporate war against Logan Creations is raging outside, but the most dangerous and consequential battles are currently being fought within the very heart of the Forrester family itself.